Yeah, so welcome. Today I'm going to talk about platform updates that we gotten during this year, basically, for Dynamics 365 F&SCM. And I picked basically the most interesting ones to me. I hope it's interesting for you as well. Yeah, short introduction. This is me, Edgaras Radvilas. I'm a senior Dynamics F&SCM developer at Companial. If you would like to contact me, you can write me an email or find me in LinkedIn so we can discuss these topics that I will cover today, or we can talk about other mainly technical questions that you probably have. So let's keep in touch. Right. So this is the agenda for this webinar. First, I want to talk about Companial, a short introduction, what we are as a company. Then I will go straight to the topics. So first three, I would say, are smaller ones. They are change style size for workspaces, client visual changes, Enum value limitations. And lastly, the main topic for today is financial tags. It is more of a consulting functional kind of topic. And lastly is Q&A session. So if you have any questions, you can type them in the comment section in the chat. So you can type it whenever you want, whenever you have it, and I can answer them at the end of this webinar. So let's jump to it. Companial. So this is the company that I work for, and this is the company that hosted this event. We are strictly partner to partner company. We work only with partners. So if you are a client, customer, let's say, you should first find a partner, and then you would be able to work with us. We would be able to work with you and provide you dynamic services that we have, many of them. What I want to mention first is we are a proud member of Inner Circle, of Microsoft Inner Circle. We have been this member for over 8 years, so we are very proud of it. We are official SMB ERP distributor, so ERPs that we support, Dynamics products that we support are F&SCM, that's the product that I came from, Business Central, and Sales CRM. We are indirect CSP provider, so we can provide you with licenses for Dynamics products. We are Microsoft IC Development Center, so that's where I come from. So we provide many services relating to Dynamics. So that is migration projects, implementation projects, and many other testing and so on. Then we are a Gold certified partner. And lastly, we are a Microsoft Learning partner, so we can help you with any learning needs that you have regarding Microsoft products. On the right, we have some basic facts about us, but I will not go into them. Let's just jump right to it. Yeah, like I mentioned, the first ones are the easiest ones, let's say. This is regarding to workspaces. As you know, we have workspaces in Dynamics 365, and they can have, if you want, tiles. And starting from platform update 32, that's from April, so it's already here. We have a change that was made to make a modification to tile size. So previously it was just fixed. Now you can change it to various sizes, and that is 4x4, 2x4, 2x2, 1x2. Yeah, there are multiple ways of doing it. You can either change it by doing some development services, so just change it in Visual Studio, or you can change it by configuration, user configuration. In addition to that, you have different workspaces, so it works for all workspaces, for created by development or existing ones, or the ones that the user has configured. So the ones you created from the user interface, you can change all of the tiles that are present in the client, and I will briefly show how it looks. But basically, it was the reason for change was to have better user experience, because I guess you don't always want to have big chunky square in your workspace. You maybe want to make them more compact. So here's an additional feature for you. So I tried in this example creating a workspace from user interface. So I added some various buttons, tiles, and list page, and you can see here that they are in different sizes. So that's basically the feature that they have added. And the way to do it, this is another example for standard workspaces. You just click personalize, click on the tile, and you have a selection here, tile size. So you can make your modifications here. I think they will be user specific, so other people will not be able to see it, but for this current user, it will be present. So some visual changes, basically. Another one, more visual changes, but the more obvious ones, let's say. If you have already installed the latest version of Platform 32, you have already experienced it, and maybe it's a bit unusual for you, but I think it's good to change things for the better. So basically what has changed is the close button is now transformed to a back button. Essentially, it does the same thing as it did before, only the icon is different and it's moved to another location. Show list button has been moved to action pane. Show filters button moved to the right side along with its filter dialog. We have related information button as an icon button, so minor visual changes, and all of the corners are now rounded. So the main reason why it was implemented is to align with other Microsoft apps and improve user experience. So they basically wanted to have a seamless user experience between different Microsoft products. So just aligning between those. Yeah, so this is basically a comparison that I did. I compared version 31 to 32. At the top, we have the older version, and at the bottom, we have the new one. So the first thing you see is that the edges are rounded, and I have marked how the buttons have changed. So the first one is the filter for the records. It has been moved to the right. The second one is a show of all records. Yeah, and you can see it that it's moved from the left to the action pane, actually. The third one is the close button, which is now a back button, but like I mentioned, it's the same thing. I guess this will be the most annoying change because you are used to closing the window on the right. Now you have to go to the left, but you will need to get used to it. Then we have related information that is moved to the right along with the dialogues. So yeah, something like that. I hope it's more useful for users, but I think in the end you will get used to it and it will be just fine. Another one is a more technical one. Whenever you do development work, this might affect you. Previously, we had enum value limitations, and in the recent update, this actually it will be in the future because general availability will be in September of this year. This limitation will be removed. So previously, there was a limitation to have 251 enum values. So that's no longer there. And as an example, I have taken ledger posting type Enum. So it already has a lot of Enum values by standard, but it's possible that you might add a lot more, and you might come to a situation that the system doesn't allow you to add more values. So now it's more suitable for you for if this is the case in your scenario. And the reason for changes, I guess a lot of customers have demanded this change, and it's a small change, I guess, and it wasn't that difficult to add it. Yeah, so now it's there. If you had this problem before, it should solve your problem. And the biggest feature that I want to talk to you about today is financial tags. Before we start, there's a poll in the chat, so if you can, please answer the poll. We can discuss the answers afterwards. And yeah, let's get to it. We had it as well. Cancel it, but financial tags. So yeah, they were introduced starting platform update 32, so also from April. So you already can take advantage of this feature. Basically, it boils down to the reason of change, reduce the need of financial dimensions. There might be situations where you don't have a choice but to use financial dimensions. But for others that are not super important for you, you can use financial tags as an alternative. So as Microsoft says, it's an alternative to financial dimensions to track data on accounting entries. They have a certain limitation of having 20 user-defined tags per legal entity. But in my opinion, I think that's a valid point, a reasonable point, because probably customer doesn't usually have more than 20, and 20 should be sufficient. So I don't think this should be a problem for most of the customers. Tags can be used whenever you want to have additional insight of your data. So instead of having financial dimensions, you will have tags, and that will have less impact on your performance. So you will achieve the same thing, but your system will be more stable. So the goal here with financial tags is to minimize the number of financial dimensions. Right. Currently, at this very moment, we have financial tags enabled for two journals. Those are General Journal and Global General Journal. They are quite similar to one another, so I think that's the main reason why we have those at the beginning. The main thing that you can notice is the new tab added to General Journal's header. So you can see financial tags tab with all of the active financial tags where you can enter tag values and so on. We have additional fields to journalize as well. So at the bottom right, you can see that you have financial tags field added, just like account. We have offset account. So for financial tags, we have also offset financial tags. Yeah, so that's the basics. More journals are yet to be implemented in the future. This is the start, but we should expect of having them more in different documents. So this is only the beginning. It's just the testing phase, let's say. Yeah, by default, you will not be able to see it. To be able to see it, you first need to enable it in feature management. So to do that, you need to go to feature management workspace. Just search it in the search of Dynamics, and there you can see a feature called financial tags. So it's quite simple to find it. Once you find it, you just enable it, and all of the new functionality will be visible to you. So all of the forms, they will be there. If you don't enable it, you will not see those menu items and so on. So this is an essential part of configuration. Then I want to talk about some key differences between financial tags and financial dimensions. Dimensions, let's start with dimensions. Dimensions must be included in the accounting structure before they can be used in legal entity, whereas tags are in part of accounting structure. Tags eliminate the need to use document numbers or reference numbers on financial dimensions. So for this scenario, there might be cases where you where you don't have a choice but to use a document number or reference number as a financial dimension. That's a bad practice because those values will not be reused in different areas, and you basically will have a big database, and that will impact your system performance. So for those scenarios, you would use financial tags. Most likely you are using it for making some decisions, not in reports, so should be easily replaceable. So if you have similar situation, I suggest you use financial tags. One interesting fact is that those tags are not stored on subledger tables. So those would be customer transactions table or vendor transactions tables. This is a good thing also for performance because we're not storing the data unnecessarily in multiple tables. So the database size is minimal. So that's a good one. Tags can be added, removed, or updated on posted transactions. So that's a lot different from financial dimensions where you cannot change anything on posted transactions. Since tags don't impact any financial stuff, they can be removed, updated, and posted, and stuff like that. But you have to keep in mind that there is an additional feature to be enabled if you want to use this feature. I will show you in the next slides how it works. Tags cannot be deleted, but they can be deactivated, which is, I guess, not a problem. Then comparison between financial dimensions. Financial dimensions are set up globally and used in each legal entity using accounting structures. And for financial tags, you would need to specify them on each legal entity. But there are workarounds. If there is an scenario where you want to have the same data between different companies, you could use a shared data feature to have the same data between legal entities. So that's one. Another thing is just to use data management entities. Those data entities are there by default. You don't need to create new data entities to transfer data. They are there out of the box. For financial dimensions, same dimensions can be active in one legal entity, but inactive in another legal entity. So it's not the case for the financial tags. So that's the rough comparison of those. Some more. Tags have limited structure, no validation, and limited defaulting. So as defaulting goes, basically I showed you shortly about journals. So in the header level, you can specify the tag values. Those get inherited to the account, and from account, it gets inherited to offset account. So kind of similar to financial dimensions, but I would say financial dimensions are much more complicated than this one. Yeah, then if we go back to validation, values can be selected from the lookup. I will show you how it looks. Lookup can be from table or from your custom data set. But even though you have selected the correct value, you can change it at any time. So there's no validation. You can enter whatever data you want. So there is pros and cons for it. And lastly, tag label and value type can be changed at any time. So basically, financial tag can be whatever you want, and it can change over time. So with this power comes great responsibility. The pros is if you know what you're doing, this is perfect for you because you can bend the rules and do what's needed for you. So you have flexibility. But on the other hand, you might end up with inconsistent data if you change the meaning of financial tag or just change the values that are inherited from the tables, from the backing entities. Also, it is prone to user errors since you can enter it you can enter values that are not correct, and you can enter and modify them at any time. So it is a high risk of making a mistake. So it's good and bad at the same time. Right. So first thing that I saw when I tried using this feature is that I get some compilation errors for my custom models. And that is why this, because standard models that that reference financial tags are referenced by my custom model. So essentially, my custom model should also reference financial tags. The reason is that they have added a new model to AOT. It's called FinTag. So if you see something like that, basically you would need to add additional reference to your custom models. So just a heads up before you do your updates, you might come to this this output. Right. So about setup, it's quite simple, I would say. The first thing that you need to do is to go to General Ledger parameters. There you must specify a financial tag segment delimiter. So it's kind of similar as in financial dimensions. We have delimiters of dash. Here we can specify different kinds of characters. The key point here is once you have selected it, you cannot change it back. So it's if you did it once, that's all. That's you can change it back. And what I also noticed is if you select a delimiter as a dash, you will be having problems with entering data that have dash in them or any other character that's a delimiter. Basically because the system will think that it will have more financial tags that is specified. So before doing it, please make sure that you have thought about all of the different scenarios and it doesn't break your system because as I mentioned before, you can only do it once. So just be careful. Yeah, this is how it looks from the user perspective. The first thought that you might get is that it's a synchronization error or that you did something wrong with the development environment. But no, that's not the case. It's just because you used delimiter dash. And you can see I selected customer account with a dash. This is the problem for me. So just be aware, this is how the error might look. Yep. We have new page that is added and it's called financial tags. It's under general ledger and chart of accounts. This is how it looks at the bottom. We have several fields. Financial tag is the label, as they call it. And as I mentioned before, you can name it however you want it, but it might be misleading because you imagine you added some values at the beginning with one meaning, then you change the meaning. So the data might not make sense. So keep that in mind. The second one is value type. There are three. Text is that you can enter whatever values you want. a list it's backed by entity, so basically a table. So the second financial tag, customer account, is basically customer table, and it has a lookup for all customer accounts. And the last one is a custom list, and it's a list of values that you can specify in a new page. That page can be accessed by this button that you can see at the top. It's called tag values. So there you would enter all of the custom list values. Yeah, then we have a column of active. You basically need to activate the tag to be able to use it. If it's not active, it will not be shown in the header, in the lines, anywhere. Yep, basically that's it. This is how it looks. Yeah, this is how you select a different table for list type. As you can see, you have many tables. I would guess that you can extend it with your custom ones, but you would need to make some development on that on top. And like I mentioned before, validation is not done. Even though you select a value from a lookup, it doesn't mean that you cannot change it. So you might select, in this case, USMF upper. It's okay. And then you want to like add some additional text. It will allow you, but it's not aligned with the table that's underneath it. So the values can be anything you want. And it's not always a good practice, I would say. For custom list, like I mentioned before, there's a separate page that we have. It's called custom list tag values. So it's just one field. You just enter different values that you want to see. But once again, you can enter whatever you like. It's just for the lookup, basically. Right. Like I showed you before, that's how it looks in the general journals. We have two more fields, and they are separated by that delimiter that you have specified in the parameters. I went into Visual Studio and SQL to look how it looks under the hood. So like I mentioned before, we have new fields. We have offset fintag and fintag. Basically, those are rec ID fields to a new table. That table is fintag. Like I said before, we have a limitation of 20 tags. You can see why. Under the HUD, we see that there are predefined 20 tags. So it doesn't matter if you use only three 20 will be in the backend, no matter how many you use. So yeah, we have tag 1 to 20. And the last one is display value, which is a combination of all your tags. So if you need to debug something relating to fintag or you want to add some modifications, I think this is a good place to start. You can look for references of this table and see what you can find. Another interesting thing is once you post those journals, you can see it in voucher transactions. And those tag values are not separated by delimiter, but they are separated in different columns, which is good because you can export it to Excel and filter it however you want it. So it's more user-friendly. Like I mentioned before, you will not see financial tags in customer transactions or vendor transactions. So be not surprised. For you to be able to see it, you have to go to voucher transactions. Yep, like I mentioned before, you can modify the financial tags on posted transactions, but to be able to do that, you need to enable a new feature. This feature is called Allow Edits to internal data on general ledger vouchers. Yeah, it's a bit more difficult to find, but once you find it, you will be able to modify both financial tags offset and regular financial tag, and a description field. Since description field doesn't have any impact on the statements, it can be modified as well. What is good about this feature is that it has an audit trail. That means you can see all of the changes that have been made in the past. So you have that audit and you know what's happening with your system. What's worth noting is that only the roles, the people, the users that have a role of accounting manager or accounting supervisor can use this feature, or of course super users, administrators. So if you don't see it, probably you're lacking some accesses. So this is how it looks from the user perspective. Once you go to voucher transactions, you have a new button, Edit Voucher. And there's two selections. You have Edit Internal Voucher Data and Audit Trail. So the first one is just to edit, to change the values from what was in the past and to the new values. So you can see a new dialog pops up, current financial tags and new financial tags. So basically, that's where you change it. And that's also where you change the description. And this is the second button that you can see here, Audit Trail. So this is the audit trail. You have all the different changes that you have made. You can enter a reason for edit, so you know the exact reason why the change was made. And yeah, you can see what change has made in addition to when it was made and by what user. So it's the perfect thing for you if you want to track this data. And finally, I want to talk briefly about reporting. Tag values are not included in dimension sets, so they are not exactly replacing financial dimensions. You cannot generate a trial balance to view balances for tag values. But on the trial balance, tag values are shown on each detailed transaction and are split in separate columns, like I showed you for voucher transactions. So it's kind of similar there. And those detailed transactions can be exported to Excel or Power BI, where you can manipulate them the way you want it and get the insights that you want using those financial tags. So overall, I think it's a good feature to be added. It extends the system quite nicely. And I think in some scenarios, it might even improve the performance of your system. So if you have something relating to that, I would suggest you look into this new feature, and maybe it helps you for your